Emilia-Romagna is the sixth most populated region of the country. With more than 22,400 square kilometers, it is ranked 6th in the ranking of the most extensive regions, and it is the fourth as gross domestic product after Lombardy, Lazio and Veneto. Emilia-Romagna has a usable agricultural area of more than 1 million hectares, nearly 65,000 agricultural business owners and more than 66,000 workers on farms. The average business area is continuously growing and has reached just over 16 hectares. The primary sector is favored by the geographical location in the Po Valley and by its fertility. Numerous typical PDO and PGI products. Typical crops of the plains are fruit, vegetables and cereal. Viticulture is developed and produce fine wines that are well known abroad. The largest food companies are located in Emilia, while in the area of Cesena and Ferrara there are fruit and vegetable establishments. The climate of the province is temperate, subcontinental temperate in the plains and hills, and cool temperate in the mountains. The plain is characterized by annual precipitation between 8 and 900 mm, with 80-85 rainy days, and between 1,000-1,500 mm in the average hill for 100 days of rain, with an increase that follows the increase in altitude. Since the last year, the 20th century, winter precipitation has decreased and autumn precipitation has increased. Viticulture is widespread in Piacenza. Some documents report knowledge from the first millennium before Christ. With more than 5,300 hectares, it covers just over 10% of the regional wine area. The vast majority is cultivated between 150-400 meters above sea level. There are numerous dark wines produced in the Piacenza hills. Among the white wines, Malvasia, Ortrugo, Trebbianino, Valtrebbia, and amongst the red wines, Gutturnio, Barbera, Bonarda. It has its own morphological identity, and here is cultivated more than half of the province's vineyard area by 2,000 wineries. 2 social wineries are present, both located and working in the Tidone Valley. Vineyards alternate with very characteristic and beautiful landscape. Although the varieties suitable for growing by law are almost 100, those present are about 30. But those that fill the vineyards for almost 90% are basically 4. The agricultural sector has a typically conservative approach, made even stronger by income difficulties, thus leading to a refractory attitude to the technical innovation of crop management. Land arrangement in most cases approach the ritocchino, but hardly the gentle slopes typical of these hills oblige to take in strict sense this type of accommodation of the land. So it is common to observe that the slope is composed of a mosaic of plots, with varied inclination, due also to the fact that the planting followed the shape of the cadastral parcels, and the presence of drainage channels, or ponds, or more simply to exploit the exposure. Double or simply Guyot is the master, 86%, followed by the Sparred Cordon, 6%, and Casarsa, 5%. Spalier, GDC and Free Cordon together represent less than 3%. Although the Guyot is one of the only partially mechanized form, it is one of the most suitable forms of training for the phytosanitary management of the vineyard, dividing the productive part, strip of cluster, from the shoots that grow vertically. Planting distance are characterized by large distance on the row, 1.5 to 2 meters with simple vine stock, and close together, 2.2 to 2.6 meters. 2.5 meters is adopted in most new planting, cause provide the possibility of mechanizing some phases, such as harvesting. It can be estimated that rootstock are in prevalence Cober 5BB, SO4 and 420A, followed by 1103P, 169 to 49 and 157 to 11. Cultivation, milling and hoeing between rows was normal in the past. In recent years, spontaneous grassing has been adopted frequently, left at least for a period of the vine growing cycle, while during the summer it is preferred to work soil to control the loss of water from the ground. In new plantings, the tendency of permanent spontaneous grassing is spreading, while artificial grassing with selected varieties is uncommon. One solution is to maintain grassing in alternate rows that is considered an important factor for promptly performing plant spraying. All these solutions must be combined with weed control on the row. Weed control is not so widespread, although increasing for practically and low cost. Milling, grass cutting or sod cutting with mulching effect are practiced. Even if the rules allows production yield from 10 up to 13 tons per hectare, commonly are lower. averaging around 8 to 9 tons per hectare. Farms operating in a rational way apply the technique of restitution according to the guidelines of the integrated production, spreading 50 to 55 kilograms per hectare of nitrogen, 35 to 40 kilograms per hectare of phosphorus, and 70 to 80 kilograms per hectare of potassium. These amounts are variable according to local condition that can also be known from the map of soils available on the website of the regional administration. Many farms are rediscovering organic fertilization with manure when available. Organic farms operate the green manure mostly in alternating rows, in alternate years, with mixed seed of legumes and grasses. Unlike grape production of the lowland of the region, it is not practiced due to water scarcity and lack of arrangement of the vineyards. In very dry years, yield can be compromised. Among many diseases affecting vine, it is necessary to remember: vine always needs to be protected from downy mildew, and in some years can also lead to total loss of harvest if weather conditions prevent field entry. Its action is felt in the lower areas where the leaf wetness is prolonged. Compared to the lowland areas, control is easier because the hilly places are less favorable to its development. Powdery mildew reveals all its potential in the hilly areas since warm and dry and windy environments favor it. Some varieties with thin skin or compact bunch are particularly affected. Botrytis particularly affect compact bunch varieties, vineyard with highest yield, moth attack, and rainfall close to the harvest time. European grapevine moth. Mild winters and hot summers probably brought this pest, once typical of southern areas, to spread in our environments and conquer areas once unknown. In some years it managed to complete 4 generations. The fourth coincides with the harvest period of some grapes, present swing over years. Grapevine yellows start spreading in the region at the end of the 19th, from west to east. The spread of the disease has no limit. It can take place both in the open field and in the nursery. Quarantine regulations are involved. Its vector is the leafhopper Scaphoideus titanus. Esca disease is a real plague, exalted by the long dry summer of the recent years. It can compromise the economy of a vineyard. Varietal susceptibility is important, known since ancient times, has reached unsustainable levels in recent years. Weather influences heavily plant protection and determines the timing and number of spraying. Conventional protection has now changed from the agriculture of the Green Revolution. However, tends to an indiscriminate use of synthetic products with a broad spectrum of action, and aims to achieve the total destruction of harmful organisms with repeated precautionary treatment at certain intervals, following certain phenological phases of the crops, without taking into account the presence of the parasite, its intervention threshold, or the real risk of developing the disease. In recent years, tended to move toward greater sustainability and greater sensitivity to the environment. The intensive use of means of production is in fact also limited by the cost. On the regulatory and phytosanitary level, farms had to renounce to pesticide with impact problems in relation to their exclusion at European level. Emilia-Romagna was among the first to develop IPM since the late 70s. This alternative production method provides for an overall management of all agricultural practice, respecting health, environment and quality of products. About 20% of farms practice IPM on vine. Farms voluntarily adhere to finance 5-year agri-environment commitments by following the guidelines of the integrated production, updated every year by the regional administration. Briefly, there is a clear reduction in the quantity and an improvement in the quality of the pesticide used, also thanks to the agronomic practice by IPM guidelines. There is an anticipation without trauma of the exclusion of products with negative toxicological profiles. Furthermore, there is a dragging effect on conventional management and the impulse to organic farming, demonstrating the feasibility of low-impact solutions and new techniques such as sexual confusion, bacillus and traps. Organic farming excludes the use of synthetic products and GMOs. Try to avoid any form of pollution caused by agricultural techniques. In recent years, many farms have converted, reinforcing Italy's status as one of the leading European producers. Probably this exploit is also favored by the search for new market outlets and by the search for a better remuneration of the product. Vine is one of the crops that best adapt to the organic management if you set the correct cultivation criteria from the plant, even if in recent years new phytosanitary problems have arisen that are difficult to manage, and the question of copper remains controversial.